Alrighty guys, so what we're going to do today is finally put the Mustang all back together and finally get it running. Basically, what I found at the end of the last video, it was still having some issues and I started freaking out. Thought it was the motor, but actually, I think it's just the idle air control valve. Basically, your idle air control valve, which is that guy right there on the side of the intake, basically controls how the car idles. It lets in more air, less air, just depending on how much air it needs at idle. Basically, what I think happened is that valve was dirty, causing the engine to not idle correctly. And when I looked at the oil pressure and stuff and was listening to the engine, I thought the engine was knocking. But if it's not idling correctly, it's going to kind of like stall out. So that's what I think pretty much happened. When I took out the intake, well, the upper plenum, whatever you want to call it, I had a little bit of oil buildup in there. You can still kind of see. Yeah. So I'm going to clean all that out too. Clean this up pretty much all together and get it back all together in the Mustang, and hopefully she's going to run right. So since I took the upper plenum off, I have to replace the gasket, and then since I had a bunch of blow-by in there, I got a new PCV valve, which is right next to your oil cap. We're going to replace those two things first, and then we finally got our package in for our cold air intake, so we'll be installing that today too. And by the end of today, we'll get the Mustang running, and hopefully we won't have any more issues. So first things first, let me take off this old gasket, clean up the ports and everything, and whatever you want to call them, and clean up this side. Clean everything out for a good connection. Make sure we don't have any leaks or anything in that gasket. Then we'll start putting everything back together. Alrighty, so cleaned up the manifold and everything. And we cleaned up where it meets to the block. So now we're ready to put our new gasket in. So let me put that all together and then we'll start tightening it down and everything. Alright, so before I put the gasket and everything, I figured I'd change out our PCV valve while we're right here. Why aren't you focusing? There we go. I mean, I guess. So this is our old one. It still rattles and stuff, but it's all like gunked up and yucky. So that's probably part of our issue. It's blowing right into the manifold and everything, sucking all that in. So that's just not good. So I went ahead and replaced that since it's right there, nice and easy. Got a new one in there. Don't got to worry about that one. Now we can put our gasket in. So now let me do that. We'll start putting it back together. Alright, so I finally got all that put back together. Got the new upper plenum gasket. Got our new PCV valve in. Wired everything back up. Hooked up the coil pack, ignition cable, all that fun stuff. What I'm going to do next is put in the intake. And after we put in the intake, we'll clean out the idle control valve. But this is our new intake over here. And it's all in blue, which is really cool. I know the car is red, but we got new like vacuum lines and stuff. Nice chrome metal intake for cold air. So this is gonna be gonna make the car run a little bit better. And it's all overall just gonna give it a little bit more power. So I'm gonna put that in next. The way this one works is where the old intake was, and I still have it on the floor over there. It goes inside of that little hole right there, so it can kind of suck the air out of the fender. So for true cold air, the other one just kind of like sat up here. So yeah, so now we're gonna have an open filter now. Hopefully you hear more throttle and stuff. So let me get putting that on next, and then we can finally try to start it up and see if it runs well. Alrighty, so what I'm doing right now is I'm taking the mass airflow sensor out of the old intake and then swapping into the new intake tube. I'm pretty sure that's the only thing you have to swap over. They already give you tubing and everything for the vacuum lines and everything, so the only thing you really got to swap from the old intake is the mass airflow sensor, which is pretty cool. So I'm going to put that together right now. Just figured I'd show you guys this is really the only thing you need from the old intake. Alright, so finally, here, I'll use this little flashlight here. finally got the intake all put on. I just got to plug a couple connectors in, but it took me a while to get this on. It's just the piping and the couplers. It's not an easy process, especially just trying to fit them all together, and the hose clamps that they give you and stuff. It's just pain in the butt. But I got it together. The only other thing that I had to take it apart so many times because the air filter's tucked back there, so I put it all together without putting the air filter on, and they're like, oh yeah, just go under the car. And I went under the car, and the only way to do that by taking out the wheel well. I was like, what the heck? So I had to take it all apart again, put the air filter on, then stick it back through. So now that's all set. I'm going to push it out because we got to jump start it again with the GTI, and we'll see how she runs finally. So I got everything wrapped up, but the battery is super dead. So we're gonna go get a battery charger, charge it overnight, try to start it tomorrow, and then we'll see how she runs. I've got my fingers crossed. I'm pretty sure she's ready to roll. It's just she's been sitting so long that the battery's dead, so gotta get a new battery. So let me go get a battery charger, let it charge overnight. We'll see what happens. Alrighty, so left the battery to charge overnight. Battery charger says it's all charged up now, so let's give it a shot. See if this bad boy will start up. Well, that's not a good sign. Well, must have left something unplugged. Let me do some investigating here. Give me 1 second. Alright, so Mustang wouldn't start, so I started checking things. Made sure the anti-theft was working. Anti-theft was working good. No issues there. Checked fuses. Fuses are all good. Checked relays. Relays were all good. Checked terminals, battery voltage, all that fun stuff. That's all still good. So the only thing left is the starter, which wouldn't surprise me given how old this car is. I even looked at the starter. It looks like it's still like the original starter. So went ahead, got myself a new starter. The only part that sucks about the starter on these, of course, it's under the car, but it's like tucked in between all on the passenger side here. I got 2 of the bolts out. Third bolt's really high up there, so I got a couple extensions, so had to go grab those. But figured I'd give you guys an update. That's what I'm working on right now. And it is also snowing outside. Yeah, that is snow. So it's like 32 degrees out, but we're gonna get this Mustang done. So let me get that last bolt out. Let me put in the starter, and then we'll finally crank this puppy up, because I'm pretty sure that's part of our issue to begin with, long starts and stuff. It was partially the battery, but the alternator tests good, I know that. Battery life, we put it on a slow charger, so that should keep that going. Only thing left would be the starter. So let me replace that. Hopefully we can finally start this guy. Alrighty. So finally, after working all day, finally got the starter put in. Worked all day in the cold. It's actually dark out now, but got a new starter put in. So let's give her a rip. Let's see. Got the key. Now, in theory, she should fire right up. Uh-oh. Well, looks like I didn't put my starter in right. Alrighty, so, long story short, I put the starter in the first time. The top bolt is a pain in the butt. You can't really even line it up because there's just like no way to get to it. You gotta take like 5 extensions even to just tighten it down. and I could just not get that top bolt in. So I lined up the bottom bolt. People said you could just do the bottom bolt, you'd be fine. Started up, obviously, like almost like shredded something up because it was just grinding up against the flywheel. Apparently only the GTs can do the bottom bolts because they have 2 bottom bolts and 1 top bolt. So if you do the 2 bottom bolts on the V8s, you can run that and don't have to run the top bolt. V6, can't do that. So, had some help come over just because, you know, sometimes an extra help of hands just gets the job done. I've been working on this all day, busting my butt. Just couldn't get it running. My buddy, my cousin Sean came over, put in the top bolt. I don't know how we did it, but Godspeed. We started it up. It starts up. We started up twice, and it starts right up now. So we'll go ahead and start her up. She starts up instantly now. So I'm pretty sure we fixed all the issues on it. All we have left is the windshield and just like maintenance stuff, like power steering fluid, which I still have the fluid for. We're getting to that. The starter was obviously more important. So finally got her running now. She runs awesome. Don't know if we have any check engine light issues because obviously the battery's been dead for so long. Who knows what codes can get stored or turn on, but we won't know until we drive it. Right at the moment, she runs pretty fine. The only other thing I really have to do maintenance-wise is clean out the idle air control valve because she idles a little funny when she's warmed up. Just haven't got around to that yet. But yeah, we started at 11 o'clock. Let's see, what time is it now? Started at 11 o'clock. It's now 7:22. So probably about 8 hours of work today to get this thing going, but we finally did it. And it is so cold. You can just like see my breath. Alright, so that's gonna end this video. I'm gonna finally go inside, get warm, clean up. I am dirty. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned. Now that we got this thing running, the next thing we gotta do is replace that windshield. We will get this thing on the road. So comment down below what you want to see next. If you want to see more in-depth maintenance stuff, if you want to see what plans they have for it, plans are for turbos. But yeah, stay tuned and we'll see what we do to this thing.